guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So we're here today to work a bit more with our folio that we're making. So we've actually kind of, if you've been following along with me, we've kind of completed our folio now. So now we're kind of just making some bits and bobs to go inside it. Just some kind of, embellishment pieces, some pull out kind of pockets and what have you, maybe some tags, things like that. And we've also made, or hopefully kind of if you've followed along with me, you may have made a little kind of journal. So we talked about the journal on another video, and since then I've just stitched in the signature, as per kind of the 3-stitch pamphlet stitch that we talked about kind of doing. So that's kind of that. And then we've got obviously a selection of pages here. So many of them are just finished copy paper, and then I've just interspersed a couple of thicker sheets that are double-sided that have been kind of just on thicker sheets so that we can kind of pop embellishment pieces onto those. They're a little bit more sturdy. And then on my journal, so if you've kind of followed along, when we talked about it last time, I've just added a couple of pockets, kind of front and back. So there's a pocket here at the front and a pocket there at the back, just so that we can kind of add some, tags and journaling cards and things like that into the pocket. So, I mean, obviously this is just a very small journal. This is not kind of a full size, massive kind of great big journal or anything. It's just quite a small journal. So we don't want to go too mad, or I don't want to go too mad with the kind of embellishment pieces. I just want to make kind of one or two, reasonably slimish pieces. So not kind of getting too fat, too bulky, just keeping them kind of reasonably kind of slim and, just a good size basically to kind of have in the journal. So that's kind of where I'm heading. So what I'm going to do is I've opened the journal at the first of the thicker pages. So these are all the copy page, the first bunch of copy page pages. So this is a kind of thicker page here. And then I've just taken another of the thicker kind of pages. So all I'm going to do is just make a kind of pocket style piece to kind of just attach onto this page. So all I'm going to do, I think, is just kind of trim it down here, and there's a kind of natural line on this paper in the kind of pattern of the background with some kind of torn edges. So I'm just going to cut it down there. Had a horrible feeling there that I was actually cutting the journal, so thankfully I wasn't. So we're just going to kind of cut it like that. And then all I want to kind of do is make a little kind of pocket here. So I'm going to just kind of fold that up. And then what I'm going to do is just cut that across like that. And then when I turn that around, obviously I need to turn it up the other way because otherwise it's obviously upside down. There's a piece there for my pocket, and obviously if I want to trim that and make it kind of smaller, then I can just stick this piece kind of anywhere along on here and make it smaller. So I might actually do that. So I might kind of have it about there. So I'm just going to glue that down. And I mean, again, obviously you could actually stitch this, but I'm sure you're all fed up with hearing me say my sewing machine is not here, so that's not kind of a very practical option for me. So I'm just kind of gluing it, and gluing is absolutely fine too. So gluing works just as well for me. So just going to kind of cut that down across the bottom. Just trim that off at the side. And then I'm going to round the corners of this piece, I think. I just wonder whether I need to kind of make it slightly narrower. So I might just make that slightly narrower, and obviously then I'm going to have to kind of re-glue that edge. Just because my pages are quite narrow on this journal, so I didn't really want a kind of square piece, because to me that just looked slightly, you know, off against the page itself. So just going to round the corners like that. Let's make sure that's properly stuck down. And we can kind of then pop that down. I've got here a couple of words from the kit, so I might use one of those. Actually, I might use the smaller one. Now these are just on copy paper, so, you know, ideally I would have kind of popped them onto slightly thicker paper, but, you know, they are just on copy paper. But I mean, that's, you know, that's fine. It will work just as well. Just having a look here, because I've got this banner piece, so I'm just going to cut this out. Hope everyone's having a good day. Hope you're managing to get some crafting in. The weather is still, would you believe, not very nice here. I mean, I have said before, but I'm trying to do these videos kind of ahead of time, so it may be that by the time that I upload this video, it might be a roasting hot sunshiny day, and, you know, you'll all kind of look out the window and think, what's she talking about? You know, those watching in the UK anyway. You know, because maybe it will be, well, we live in hope that it will be kind of really nice hot sunshine and blue skies, but so far we're not having that. So far the summer's being pretty diabolical, to be honest. I'm just having a look here whether I might want that, but actually what we could do is kind of have this on one of those plain pages, I think. So I'm going to cut out the other word from here. So just cut that like that. And then actually I'm going to use the smaller of the word. This one says TikTok, just because it kind of fits in there better. So, and obviously on the pocket it doesn't really matter, you know, what size that piece is, it's going to still look fine. So I'm going to just pop that onto some lace. Oh my gosh, what is going on with me today? Right, so I'm just going to pop that onto some lace like that. And then I'm just going to glue that down. Now, I said before, but I'm experimenting with this fabric glue, so that's still going, that tube, so used it quite a bit. Still undecided at the moment, but I mean, to be honest, I haven't really kind of used it at this point enough to kind of have pieces dry and kind of check out how robust it is, because I've been doing kind of multiple projects at the same time. Right, I'm just going to kind of leave that in there for a moment, and we'll go back to this one. And now I've lost that little word. My time flies word has now flown. Oh no, where has that gone? And again, you're probably watching and have seen exactly where it's gone, but unfortunately I cannot see for the life of me where it's actually gone. Oh no. Oh, this is so annoying. Laura, if you're watching, probably shouting at the screen saying where it is, and I'm just blind as a bat and obviously can't see it. I'm just checking it's not flicked in there. No, it's not flicked in there. Oh gosh. Would you believe that? I literally had it 2 seconds ago. Just seeing whether I can see it on the floor. I don't want to go rummaging around, but no, I can't see that anywhere. Oh, right. Let me bring back my pieces because I have got other words on here, so we'll just use another word. So we've got this one here, it says every day. And again, this one is actually on copy paper. So I love this font. It's really pretty, isn't it? I can't remember what font that is, but I think it's you know, really delicate, really pretty. Right, let's trim that around here. Like that. I'm going to pop that on there. So let's just get some glue here. Like that. Glue the word. Oh my gosh, look. Now that must have been stuck on that glue bottle. Obviously I'll go with this one now because I have now just put the glue on there, but yeah, that must have been stuck on the glue bottle because when I picked the glue bottle up, it obviously transferred onto my finger. So we've got that for another piece. Right. So I've got a little flower here which we can add somewhere. And I have got that ivory lace. Now that may be just too big, so I'll just trim that down. And I'm just going to trim it off of the, you know, that kind of header tape stuff that was kind of making it be gathered. Could kind of have it like that. Now I did have some other ivory lace. I'm now not going to be able to, for the life of me, find it anywhere, so just bear with me guys for a moment. No, I can't find it anywhere now. Obviously I've still got the rest of that beautiful blue that we have been using already on the folio itself. So we could kind of use some of that, which, you know, I've just been kind of trimming down because this was actually originally quite a kind of fat, you know, wide lace. So I've just been kind of trimming it down when I've been using it. So if I just cut that kind of roughly to size. Like that. And then what I might do is actually trim it slightly thinner because it's still quite, you know, quite wide. So just take a little bit more off there. Oops, I need to trim this piece up because it's not very straight. Okay. Right. So, I mean, that looks really pretty, I think. So I'm going to kind of go with that, I think. So again, using this fabric glue. Just run a bit of that on there. Yeah, these colours are really pretty. I love duck egg blue. It's just such a pretty colour, isn't it? It's very delicate. And I'm going to stick this flower on here. Yeah, delicate and pretty colour. And it was really in, wasn't it? Oh gosh, probably about 10 or 12 years ago. You don't see so much of it now. Like all these things, it's kind of, you know, goes in kind of cycles, and it's obviously kind of had its day and now it's kind of out again. No doubt it will come back in eventually another time, but don't know whether to kind of pop that up there or not. So I'm just going to have a look, because we've obviously got various different elements that we could kind of cut out and have around somewhere else on the page. So this is that same sheet, but it's actually on thicker card, which I prefer. well, let's just try a couple of pieces from here. I'll just cut out these couple of journaling cards as well, so they're kind of ready. One, two, oh, come on, come on, come on. So get rid of those couple of bits and get rid of this. So if we were having, oops, I've stuck that down there. I don't know whether that needs that bling, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's unusual for me to kind of not want just bling everywhere, but I wasn't so sure about it on that page. Might have some pearl trim on there instead. There's something about that page looking quite kind of colourless. You know, it looks really pretty and really delicate, and I am quite liking that. So just cut this around like that. So I'm just kind of wondering, you know, if we didn't have the lace at the top, because I might prefer that lace on the pocket of the facing page. So I'll just cut this tickets out. Like that. A bit more. Okay. Right, so I'm just checking whether we want this kind of ticket here. Now this is one of those double tickets, so what I could do is kind of fold that where there's like a natural fold line. I don't think I got that very straight, but never mind. And then what we could do is kind of hook it around, and then it would kind of come over the page as well, which might be quite cute. And we could kind of just pop a bit of lace down under there. Just, oops. Just kind of pop that under there like that. And then I might just have kind of a bit of lace, whoops, running down here. Have a look. That's kind of quite nice, isn't it? And obviously have this pocket here. So I quite like that. So let's go for that. So we're going to kind of glue this on here. Like that. I'll just press that down. And then I'm just going to kind of glue this one down. Again, I'm going to just use that fabric glue. Just pop the fabric down, and then we'll just pop the ticket down on top like that. Okay, let me just stand up and check how straight that looks, because where I'm sat down, I'm obviously not really kind of looking down on it, and so I can't really tell how straight I kind of got that. Let's check on this side. Okay, so that looks nice. And then we can obviously have this here. We could have it right to the side, or we can obviously kind of have it in the middle or something like that. So I might prefer it kind of towards the side, I think. I'm going to glue this down with the wet glue. Oops, like that. And I'll just have a look. Okay. Okay, so that looks really pretty now. And then obviously you can just tuck a couple of things into the pockets. That journaling card might be too wide, I think, to go in there. And we've got smaller ones here. So we could just pop a couple of small ones in there. We could do one of the clock faces as well. So if we just cut around that. Circle cutting is not my favourite, I must say. You know, fussy cutting flowers and things like that, they're fine because it's really not that evident, you know, when you kind of don't cut it perfectly. But circles are a different matter altogether, aren't they? Because they are not forgiving at all. But that one looks okay. So I'm going to pop them into that pocket. Okay, so I like how that looks. And then I just want to kind of decide whether we want to kind of pop a bit of lace on here. Might kind of do that. It's quite pretty, doesn't it? So I'm just going to kind of roughly kind of glue that down like that. And then obviously we can just pop these two journaling cards that were too large. We can pop them into that side instead. So then we've obviously got another couple of the plainer pages before we've got another one of the thicker kind of pages. So again, you know, we can kind of obviously, these are actually, or this one is double-sided, so that's fine. This one obviously, as you can see, is just a single-sided white one. So again, if I kind of just pull the pieces back in. So I'm just having a look. See what bits and bobs we've got. So on here we've got this piece here. So again, just cut around that loosely. Like that. This piece. Cut around the top, which again is not going to be very forgiving. So I'm just trying to be as careful as I can be. Okay. Cut that off just because it makes it a little bit easier to kind of cut around it. Okay, we'll cut in here. Around there, nearly done. Okay. Cut the space. Cut around here. Nearly done. Okay, so the bottom bit, funnily enough, is more forgiving than the top because obviously it's that patterned kind of edge, or that shaped edge. You know, it's kind of a bit easier to cut. It's kind of the opposite, really, of how you expect it to be, I think. So what I'm thinking is if we kind of had this here as a piece on the page, and we could just kind of, you know, decorate that up with some other little pieces around it. So again, let me just pull in the other pieces. So here I've got some kind of label pieces, and obviously I've got another couple of clock faces. So if we just pull in the label piece, for instance, like that. Just trim that edge bit down a bit. Okay. We could just kind of have a little label at the side. And again, you know, we could just kind of pop that on a piece of lace kind of down there. So I just trim this. And this is some of that pretty gathered lace that we used on the folio itself. But obviously it's a much wider trim than the gathered lace that we've used just now. So if we were having that there, for instance, like that. I mean, I think that's really rather nice kind of just as it is. I mean, to be honest, that doesn't even need to be a tuck spot, really. You could just have that kind of glued down as a kind of journaling spot. And then with the little label to the side, I think would be, you know, quite nice. So I might just kind of do that, I think. Oops. Like that. Because again, you know, like we just said, I mean, we're not trying to bulk this journal out. We want to keep it quite slim-ish. I can't kind of say it's going to be slim because that might come back and bite me. But, you know, we don't want to kind of really bulk it out too much. So, you know, having things kind of glued flat is kind of quite nice to do. Now, I've got that lovely cream eyelash trim. So I'm going to attempt to put some of that behind that label. So if I just kind of maneuver that round, obviously we want to have the kind of actual eyelashes kind of hanging out. So if we kind of have that like that. So I'm going to kind of glue this lace down. Check I've got it the right way up. That's better, I think. So like that. Don't know whether I've got any tissue for kind of mopping up, I'm afraid. So I have to just kind of do it with my hands and just be covered in glue, I'm afraid. Right, now I'm going to glue the eyelash trim onto here so it's a little bit easier to kind of manage, like that. Oops. Come on. Okay. Okay, oops, okay, come on. Right. Being very careful. You know, this is quite daring for me with the eyelash trim. So then I think what I'm going to do is I think hot glue this down because I want this just to glue down instantly. I don't want to risk mucking up that eyelash trim. So get that and pop it straight down onto that lace piece. Okay, very hot this is to be pressing down, so again, not really ideal, but never mind. Right. So just pressing that down. Oops, just had a bit of hot glue coming out there. Okay, so that looks pretty, and it's just kind of a little decorative kind of element just there on the corner of that page. And then I'm just going to rummage through my little tin to the side and find my pearly trim, which for some reason I now can't find. Oh, here we go. I knew I had a little kind of piece that I'd already kind of cut down to size. So we just cut that down. Oops. Move that out of the way. And so what we could do is just have a couple of little bits of kind of pearl trim just stuck on there as well, I think. So again, I'm just going to use hot glue because then that's nice and instant. I don't have to kind of wait for it to dry or worry about it kind of flopping around on the page. It's just instantly stuck on there. So there we go. Okay, so really pretty now. And actually, while I've got that pearl trim, I may add some here because we did talk about doing that and then I didn't actually kind of dig it out. So we might have a bit up here. So I might just leave that quite long. So it's just got those 5, you know, string of 5, which that I think is quite long really, but I thought it looked quite nice. Oops, there we go. So that looks pretty, doesn't it? And then, you know, if we're going all out with the pearl trim, we may like to have a piece or, you know, a little bit on here as well. So let's have a look. And again, I'll probably just go for the 3. Maybe there. Yeah, so I quite like that. Okay. Okay, so I like how that looks. It looks pretty. And obviously, you know, I mean, as I say, this is just a very small kind of journal, obviously, to kind of match your, or to, you know, go alongside your folio. So, you know, we're really trying not to kind of bulk it out too much. So, you know, these kind of little decorative pieces, they're just kind of the right size, I think, for keeping it kind of flattish. So I'm just having a look now to see what else I've got here that I can kind of use. So I've got here a little kind of label. So I'm just going to cut that out. And again, this one's an oval, so, you know, for me, this is just as unforgiving as the circles. So, okay, move that to one side. Just make it a bit easier to cut out if I haven't got the whole great big piece of paper kind of flapping around. Okay. And I just thought we could kind of pop that there in the middle, probably on a piece of lace. So just, again, get some lace there. Just cut around that. You know, and I'm not trying to cut around it kind of to a shape, but just kind of making it so it kind of fits really. So we're just going to kind of glue that on there. And then I might just add a little flower. So, it's hard to see which way was the way up for that again. Okay, so again, I'm just going to use that fabric glue. Again, just have to use my hand, which, you know, not probably the nicest, but not the best way to stick it down, but never mind. Right, I'm going to pop that on there like that. And then I might just add a little flower kind of here to the side. which I will just hot glue again because that's nice and fast. Okay, so that looks nice. Now, do we want any pearl trim anywhere here? Could just have a pearl in the centre of the flower, I think. So I'm just going to cut one of those off. And I just add some glue, you know, direct to the flower. Just going to pop that in there. Okay, so super simple, but really quite pretty. You know, kind of didn't really take an awful lot to kind of decorate that, but it does look very pretty, you know, being just quite minimally kind of done, if you can kind of see that. And then again, obviously in here, we're just going to kind of pop some pieces in here. So just got a couple of pieces here to the side of me, which let's make a little kind of booklet thing to pop into this pocket. So I'll just move the journal to one side for a moment. So this is one of the offcuts of just some of the paper that we've been using. Obviously I need to trim it down because actually I'm not going to use that. Sorry to do a kind of backtrack, but I just thought actually that might be better as a standalone piece. So let me pull in another page. So as it happens, I have another piece which I haven't used yet. So from this piece, let's again kind of make a little booklet. So again, I'm just going to kind of fold that in. And then actually I kind of did it quite big so that I could kind of do a pocket, but yeah, let's do a kind of folding in pocket. So just as we kind of have done with some other pieces, we're just going to kind of fold this in like that, just to get the kind of rough shape that we want. And we're just going to kind of fold it in down there. So I'm just going to trim that down. So obviously at the moment it's quite a gigantic pocket. Like that. And then obviously at the moment this is kind of longer than my pages, so I need to trim this down because otherwise it's not even going to fit into my pocket. So I just want to kind of decide how I want to trim this, so whether I want to kind of cut it here or up here. So I think we'll cut it up here. So let's just cut it about here, I think. Oops, that was terribly wonky, wasn't it? Don't know what happened there. Okay. Right, so that looks nice. So then what I'm going to do is obviously just glue that pocket down. And just check it doesn't look very straight. So just going to kind of try and straighten that out a little bit. Okay. Okay. So that's a little pocket now in that side piece. Just fold it over like that. And then we'll just round the corners just so it's kind of a bit nicer. And I've just got to trim this down slightly because that pocket is kind of overhanging here. I'll just trim it down like this side as well. Okay. Just trim down the edges, you know, corner around the edges. Okay, so looking really pretty now. And then what we could do is make a little kind of flippy pad that will kind of be inside here. So I'm going to take some coffee stained paper. Now I just want to work out how I'm going to get the best, you know, number of pages. So I think probably doing it like this and then kind of fold it up. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is obviously just trim down where those folds are. So just going to kind of cut here roughly along the edge. That's one. And then, I mean, actually, you don't even have to kind of trim those because they're folded over. And then what we could do is obviously just staple those together. So probably need to trim this down slightly more. So I'm just going to trim it this way. Okay, so I've got here, that's folded in like that, if you can see. So I'm just going to take my little stapler and 1, 2, 3. And then I'm just going to staple that onto this kind of back, sort of what effectively I suppose is like a back page. So, and I'm just going to use my hot glue because that's nice and quick. So we're just going to kind of glue that on there. And then just so that it looks kind of a little bit more, you know, pleasing to the eye, I'm just going to kind of run a bit of lace or something across the top to kind of cover that up really. So I'm just having a look on my desk to see if I've got some bits and bobs laying around, which I have. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to look, whether this will look awful because it will be kind of pieced together, but let's have a look. So if I were to have that there and kind of this here, that doesn't look too great, does it? It's just trying to kind of piece it in rather than kind of waste it really. Right, I mustn't be stingy. Mustn't be stingy, must just use some fresh lace. So again, let me just pull that ivory lace back in. And again, we'll just cut that down. Like that. I mean, you could actually leave that kind of gathered. Is quite fun. So I might do that on this piece. So I'll just hot glue this down because it's nice and quick. So we just take that and then we just hot glue it onto here. I mean, really, we're just kind of trying to make it look a bit prettier. You know, it's not kind of for any function or any kind of particular reason. We're just kind of making it look a bit nicer. I'm just going to trim this down here on this edge so that it's not kind of in the way of when the booklet folds over. So that's that, and then I'm just going to pull in a couple more journaling cards that we can obviously pop in here. So just bear with me. Oops. So just take this one. I haven't tried, I don't think, printing this on ivory paper, so I'm not sure, you know, what effect that would have. I don't think, although because I've been doing this video in dribs and drabs, and it may be that I actually have and I just can't remember. So that looks really pretty and, you know, very simple to make, but quite kind of effective. So we can have that like that. We could just have one of the little words maybe kind of up here. So perhaps we'll put that again, maybe just on a piece of lace, just you know, to kind of add a little something to that. So just pop that down, trim that across. So again, I'll just use that wet glue. I hope I do like this wet glue because I've used an awful lot of it on various projects, and it would be disappointing if I then decided I didn't really like it. So, right, and then we can obviously just, you know, I'm just kind of thinking about using this because I obviously had cut it off, but maybe I won't. Maybe I'll save that because actually we might be able to use that on the top of the page. In fact, on top of that page looks quite nice. So I might just do that. Okay, right, just for speed, I'm going to just hot glue this one. So we just pop that down like that. And I'm going to pop that in there like that. Do we want any pearl trim? Yeah, let's just finish that off with a little bit of pearl trim. So again, I'll just use hot glue, it's nice and quick. And we'll just pop that down like that. Okay. So looking very, very pretty. Now already, if you can kind of see, the journal is kind of bulking out because obviously that's quite a bulky little booklet. So, you know, we really need to kind of be careful, obviously, that it doesn't become too chunky. So, you know, we're going to make some other embellishments, but they're going to be kind of probably quite flattish, you know, so that we don't kind of make it a kind of really bulky, chunky journal. So I'm just looking at the time. It's now up to 47 minutes. So we'll probably call it quits there for today. I may get on with some embellishments in slow time because obviously, you know, effectively this was kind of about making the folio, which we kind of have made. You know, so we could kind of now go off and kind of make our own embellishment pieces, pockets and things like that to put inside our folio, and then come back together and kind of show them, because obviously they're not really going to be anything that we haven't kind of done before. So yeah, I think kind of, you know, I'm just explaining that I may kind of take that route for a little while. So, okay then, I hope that you all have a lovely time, you know, kind of doing your folio and making your bits and bobs if you're kind of crafting along with me. And hopefully see you all again soon. Thanks very much. Bye.